This is Hannibal here from thehannibaltv.com. And today, as my special guest, we have a legendary boxer, kickboxer, MMA fighter, and he has also participated in the Brawl for All as well as some other professional wrestling stuff that we'll get into during this interview. Butterbean, the legend himself, movie star as well. How are you today, sir?
Doing awesome.
That's great. How's your restaurant holding up through all of this lockdown stuff?
It's crazy, the whole mask thing. You have to wear a mask coming in, but then when you sit down, you don't have to wear one. And I don't know what the whole mask thing. It don't help. I mean, it really don't help. I don't know what they're going to do. They're going to have to come up with a cure. The mask's not going to work.
It's like that at the gym I'm working out at now, too. You have to walk into the lobby with a mask, but once you're inside, you're allowed to take it off. So there's a lot of
It don't make
conflicting.
sense.
No.
It's like kids going to school here. The young kids don't have to wear one, but the older kids do. But when they leave, the young kid rides in the car with older kids, so it really don't matter.
Yeah. Well, I don't imagine that Alabama probably has that big of a rate of people that have the virus, does it? I haven't heard much.
I can consider a lot of the states we have as many as any of them, I guess.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you've been able to avoid it.
Yeah, I stay at home much. I don't go a lot of places.
And you also do woodworking too, I've noticed. When did you get into that?
Yeah, I do. I do a lot of the. I make ink pens and razors and things like that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Now, for your childhood, I understand you had a bit of a rough childhood. Could you start by telling us about what that was like?
Well, I mean, my mother was in a bad car wreck when I was young. My dad was also, and I was raised, with from my grandparents when I was like 3, until about 6 or 7 when my father was able to take care of me again. My mother was still in the hospital, so she was in the hospital until she passed away when I was like 8 or 10.
Oh boy. Was that hard on you? Obviously, it had to have taken its toll. Did that kind of motivate you to kind of, I don't know, become stronger, I guess?
Well, I mean, everybody has to, take care of different life challenges one way or another, and you learn how to overcome things.
Now, were you born in Alabama or were you born in a different state?
I was born in Georgia,
Okay.
and my folks had moved to Michigan. We lived there for a while, and we moved back out. We moved to Alabama when I was in like the 7th grade, 6th grade, 5th grade, somewhere in there.
And I understand you experienced some bullying when you were a kid.
Well, when you're a big guy, I still get bullied. People still, well, they don't bully me as much, but they want to make fun of how big somebody is, or I mean, why would you make fun of a one-legged man trying to cross the street? I mean, it's just adults need to teach your kids. It ain't fun to make fun of. It ain't good to make fun of other people. And I don't know why people do it, trying to make themselves feel better.
Would you always stand up for yourself when you were younger, or is that
Well,
something?
always have, always.
Yeah. So you were getting into some physical altercations then at a young age.
Not a lot, but there was some.
When did you first discover that you had a talent for, I guess, knocking people out?
Well, I worked at a mobile home factory. I was married, had kids, and there was a local tough man contest that come around, and everybody dared me to get in it. And they kept on, oh, you're so strong, you could do this. Because I've always been a real muscular, strong, not visually muscular, but very strong individual. But they dared me to get in. I did, and they just, I loved doing it, made good money, and went from there.
How was the money for those early tough man fights? Was it pretty good if you won the tournaments?
Well, when you're making $300 a week, as a check, that's 30 something year ago. You make $1,000 in one night cash. That's good money.
Yeah. What was your training like going into those tough man competitions?
A lot of it was I had a bag hanging from a pine tree. Just going out punching the bag. And some of us get together and spar, but it never went really well. But it wasn't nothing like it. Once I turned pro, it was a whole different you know level.
So who would corner you in those days? Just random friends of yours?
Yeah, pretty friends, my brothers.
Wow. So obviously that was a good experience. You had
I
some TV
had a blast.
exposure.
I had a blast fighting tough man. We traveled. A lot of times they didn't want you to travel, but we snuck in a lot of them and was able to pull it off.
And you started the American shorts and American pants gimmick back in those days. Have you just
Well,
been patriotic?
well, what happened with that was I used to wear like cut off blue jeans and like workout pants and leopard skin type pants. I would fought in Tough Man. They had a world Tough Man, which was people from all over the world, and I wanted the world to know America. Americans were to be reckoned with. It ended up only being like two countries, Canada and America in it. So it really didn't. It really wasn't what I was expecting. They were talking world Tough Man.
Right.
Fighters from all over the world, but it wasn't like that. It was just a couple countries.
Now, were you a boxing fan growing up?
We watched Muhammad Ali, Spanks, and back in the day, George Foreman. But that's when it was free TV. It wasn't like it was. I'm old, man. You got to remember, I'm old, so we got to watch them all free.
Right, before the pay-per-view days.
Oh, way before all that. Yeah.
So how did the process go for you to turn pro? Someone saw you and recruited you to fight pro at a Tough Man?
Well, Art that manages that runs the world, the original Tough Man contest. He had the world Tough Man, and after I fought so many times, when I went to enter a local Tough Man tournament, nobody would fight, so they didn't have really a tournament in the heavyweight division, just a light heavyweight. So they pretty much banned me from fighting. They told me that's too experienced. So I turned pro.
One thing before we continue, do you think you could put your head more in the middle of the screen just in case? Sometimes when it processes, it might change the.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, so I had to angle it.
And for the Butterbean name, I understand that was because you had to diet down for a specific tournament, and your diet involved butterbeans.
Well, when I started Tough Man, they had a 400-pound weight limit. I weighed 420. So I ate butter beans and chicken breast, and that's all I ate for the 2 weeks before the tournament to get down to lose the 20 pounds. And I hated the butter beans. The butter beans just they tear my stomach up, give me gas. But everybody, hey, keep eating them butter beans, and it went from that to during the fight they started chanting butter bean, and
Wow.
it just stuck.
Well, it suits you well for sure. So, how did your training evolve from Tough Man to that very first pro fight? Did you change it right away, or was it something that got more and more professional as time went on?
What do you mean?
Like as far as training in an actual boxing gym, hiring a coach, getting top quality sparring
Oh,
partners.
yeah, without a doubt, it changed drastically. I mean, I'd have to get up in the morning, but I had actually moved back to Michigan to where Art in the Tough Man contest was from. Murray Sutherland was a former IBF super middleweight champion. He was my trainer. He done a lot of good. He helped me out a lot. We'd get up and we'd do the running in the morning, bicycle work, sparring, bag work. We'd work out a couple times a day in the gym just to get prepared.
What would be your average length of a run when you're training for a fight?
I would run a couple miles a day.
Wow.
Minding you, I'm 350 pounds at the time, so
Yeah, that's a long way to run when you're that heavy. And what about your bench press? You look like you probably had a really strong bench press.
well, back in high school, I was benching like 420. But once I got out of school, I quit benching and really working out with weights. Weights are not real good when you're boxing. It makes you real stiff.
Okay.
You notice a lot of big muscle bound, really muscle bound guys that can't scratch the back of their head. because it tightens your muscles so tight it makes you too stiff.
So your training was mainly cardio and actual physical boxing training.
Exactly. Not a lot of back. That's probably why I detached my biceps in two different fights. I actually detached a muscle because my bicep was so big, it jerked the tendon off the arm.
Now, when you were hitting your bag in training, is there any specific combinations you like to work on for any fighters that might want to get some advice on bag work?
I did a routine. I would do like one round of straight jabs, and then I do a round of the a three punch combination. Then I do a body shot combination. And then we'd have like 10 rounds that we do different combinations would work. We'd do that combination the whole round.
What's your favorite body shot combination?
Yeah, I love like throwing the jab and coming with a hard right to the body and come back with left hook.
And I had a fan question that he said he saw you fight Axeman Boone in Tough Man. Do you have any recollection of that fight?
I've had I, I've had 100 tough man fights. That's been so long ago. I mean, there's a couple of them I remember, but not a lot of them.
You must hold one of the records for most career fights if you consider your Tough Man plus the huge amount of boxing, MMA, and kickboxing fights you had.
Well, I know I've had more actual televised fights than any other fighter.
Wow.
Because from my first second pro fight on was all televised. I've even had televised fights during Tough Man. I was on Showtime. I was on pay per view during Tough Man. They actually made a boxing video game of me before I even turned pro.
Did you get a bonus or any type of compensation for being part of that video game?
Oh, of course we did. Yeah,
Wow.
they
Did you
can't.
play?
I mean, sometimes they try, but it's not very good. They try not.
Okay.
You use
I
your
guess
lightning in you.
I guess around that time, that was kind of the peak of the tough man competitions too. You don't see it as much anymore on TV.
Yeah, a lot of this has been banned in different places, and it's just part of life.
Do you think that's just because of the mismatch?
Too much politics and everything.
Okay. And you ended up having a 5 year win streak in boxing. What were some of the keys to your 5 year win streak?
I just want to. I threw a lot of punches. I want to fight. I wasn't. It wasn't a typical boxing. You didn't try to hit jabs or anything, and just I went out and threw punches, and that's what made my whole career so successful. People want to see somebody fight. That's what I did.
Did you have much nerves going into your fights? Because it seems like you really actually enjoyed getting into the ring.
No, I love fighting. I mean, it's a great sport. That's one reason why I never liked to fight people I didn't like. Two reasons: they got paid. If they fought me, they made money, and that's how you hurt somebody. You take money out of their pocket. But I just didn't like to fight somebody I didn't like.
So you'd rather fight people you liked?
Oh, of course, it's a sport.
Interesting. Now you're
If I punch you in the head, it's gonna hurt.
yeah,
But if I take 10 grand or 20 grand out of your pocket, that's gonna hurt you a lot worse.
that's for sure. There's been some controversy lately. Joe Rogan has said that he feels that there shouldn't be win bonuses because when decisions happen, sometimes the judges don't make good calls. What's your position on whether or not the winners should make more?
I've always thought the winner should make more. There should be. I don't say make more, but the more famous a person is, the more money they should make. But I think a win bonus is very beneficial. I mean, what do you got to shoot for? Not as much in boxing because boxing's in MMA they don't take it. It's not as devastating to lose as it is in boxing.
Right.
You can lose 10 fights in MMA and you're still top of your game. In boxing, you really drop down in the rankings.
And of course, for boxing, I think your first big fight was against Larry Holmes that went beyond 4 rounds. How did that fight get put together?
They contacted me and they tried to do it a 4 round fight, and Holmes didn't want nothing to do with it. He thought it was going to be a quick fight anyhow, but he learned different.
Was Holmes someone that you watched growing up?
Not a lot, but I knew who he was. I mean, he was a great fighter. I mean, he was one of the top of all greatest of all times. He's in the top 10.
What did you think about the decision on that one? Obviously, you went the distance. He
You
got
know,
the
I,
win.
I thought it, I thought I won, but he jabbed and just run.
Right.
For me in a fight, whoever does more damage to the other person should be the winner. And I hit him with more power punches. I mean, he just jabbed and run. He didn't want to fight. And his corner kept telling him to run.
With that,
Move, run, get out of his way. Don't get close to him. That's all I heard the whole fight.
did you have to switch up your training much for that fight because it was 10 rounds instead of four?
Not a lot. I mean, I trained just like I could win 10 rounds almost every fight.
Interesting.
I've seen the boxing so many times that because of TV time, they cut the time of a 10 round fight down to like 4 or 6 rounds, and the guys were totally exhausted by the end of the third round because they thought they'd go wide open. They just wasn't used to going at that pace.
I see.
Me, I was used to that pace.
Would that fight have been your biggest payday up to that point?
Yeah, I've come close to that, real close to the biggest payday. Yeah,
What did you think of Larry as a person?
I didn't like him.
Okay.
He has no respect for people.
Really? Is that just because in the pre-fight he was rude to you, or
No, he wasn't really rude. I mean, well, he was rude to everybody. That's just a thing. He wasn't that likable of a person. We get along fine now. He's more likable now. I think he's got more respect for me now than we did before the fight. Because I showed him, look, I ain't no pushover.
right?
He was afraid of me after he hit me with his best shot, and I hit him with a couple of my shots. He was afraid of me. He run.
Now, when you went into K1, were you hesitant at all to go into kickboxing? Because obviously that adds another element to the whole fight, and you probably weren't training in kickboxing much prior to
No,
that.
I didn't train any in kickboxing. My first K1. I was talking to Mark Coleman, which he fights MMA and K1, and I told Coleman I might want to try that one day. Next thing I know, I got 25 promoters from all over the world calling me, wanting to promote me in K1 and Pride. And I went over and fought, and didn't even think about the kicks at first until I took a couple kicks. So this hurts. So I just want to knock him out real quick.
What do you think about Mark Coleman? I've done an interview with him. He seems like a pretty nice guy.
Mark's a good guy. Good guy. He's had his demons in the past. He's overall he's a good guy.
There was that one fight that he had over in Pride that, I mean, I think he's pretty much admitted that that one was set up, and I think Rick Bassman is the one that organized the setup there. When you were fighting over in Pride, did you notice that there was fights like that sometimes that would be fixed? Not necessarily you, but for for some other people,
If there was, that's something I'm not letting other people know.
right? And of course, it didn't look like they tested for steroids in Pride. Uh,
No, they didn't. They tested for street drugs. Their drug test over in Japan was for street drugs. It wasn't for pharmaceutical like steroids. So if you're
you've
a
been
doctor steroids, you're fine.
you've been known for knocking out those big juiced up bodybuilder types. Did you even care if steroids were tested for or not, or were you
I
concerned?
didn't, I didn't care either one.
Because I understand steroids might actually hurt your cardio if you're on them.
That's what they say. I don't know. I've never used them, so I really don't know.
Did you have any experience with the Japanese mafia over there? I know they were often sponsoring fighters and so forth.
Personally, I didn't, but they were there. You knew they were there. I mean, it wasn't. You could tell.
How did the Japanese fans treat you?
Loved them. They loved me. They treated me great. Great folks.
And of course, when I announced I was interviewing you, all the fans wanted to know the details of how you became involved in the Jackass movie and the situation with Johnny Knoxville.
That always comes up. You held 3 world titles, but you knocked out Johnny Knoxville. That beats it. They just called one day, said, "Look, I want you to be in the movie Jackass. Are you interested?" I went, "Okay, yeah, I'll shoot a movie with you." I had no idea what it was about, and then I talked to my kids, and they said, "No, it's like real life stuff." So when I got there, I wasn't shocked that they just wanted me to knock him out. I said, "Okay, I'll do it." And Johnny told me later, he goes, "That's when I got real nervous when you agreed just to knock me out of the blue. We asked you, you said yes. You just answered too quick." He goes, "It kind of made me a little nervous."
Now, going into that, was it kind of a surprise when you showed up and they said, this is actually going to happen in a department store and we're not going to tell the department store about it? Or were you expecting it to be in a ring?
Well, I didn't know. I didn't have no idea what was going to happen. I didn't know. And then, when I got there, they told me the plans, and they kind of explained their whole, what all they're about, what they do. And the biggest thing, the funniest thing is to watching the response of the people around. So it made sense to do it in a department store.
Were the police called or anything? Or did they realize that, hey, it's a show?
I'm sure they were.
Yeah. He ended up getting cut on the head. I guess that is from when he hit the floor.
Well, he actually hit the display case on the way down.
Okay, that was okay.
Yeah, he was out. He was snoring bad.
So for the Johnny Knoxville fight, would that have been one of your better paydays?
Actually, no. I mean, I barely got paid anything for that. I mean, they paid you, scale, which is just a couple $1,000s a day. So yeah, that wouldn't. But money that come from that later down the line, years and years after, I still get royalty checks from it.
Oh, that's great. I wasn't sure if you would get royalty or not.
Yeah, I'll get you royalties forever.
Was he probably your easiest opponent, or were there some guys you fought in Tough Man that put up more of a fight?
I think it was a pretty easy deal.
Now, when WWE brought you in the first time, I think in '97, to feud with Mark Marrow, how did they approach you about that?
Well, actually, Mark got a hold of me first through a close friend of us through Everlast, and then talked about it and asked if I'd be interested, and then went from there, and then worked with Vince and worked out the details and went from there.
Now, I was the night you debuted was actually in my hometown here, Ottawa. I remember you coming out of the crowd that night or being interviewed in the crowd. That was the night after Survivor Series '97 where they screwed Bret Hart. Did you notice tension in the locker room that day?
Oh yeah, there was a lot of tension going on down then.
How was it compared to like a boxing dressing room being back there in WWE?
Oh, there's no dressing room. You got like a couple big rooms everybody congregated in. Everybody went from wherever they wanted. It wasn't like,
So was your deal done just for that specific feud? You weren't under like an extended contract or anything?
well, we worked the deal out to do a pay-per-view with them and, a lot of other, other events. I think we done like a five different TV event with them.
Okay. How did you like working with Mark?
Me and Mark got along great. We worked together well.
When I interviewed Mark, he mentioned that he thinks because he was a boxer, if it had been him versus you in the Brawl for All, he might have done better. Do you think he would have stood a chance if you guys would have gone at it?
I think Mark would have tried to jab and move some more, yeah, but it still would have been the same outcome. He was just too small. Mark's a great guy, but he's just too small. Bart Gunn come out, guns a blank, thinking he was going to be a boxer, where he should have come out fighting tough man like he did the other fights.
Right. And for Sable, she was known to have an attitude with some people. Was she okay to deal with?
Me and Seba got along great. I can't. I don't know where the whole her ever having an attitude with people. She's really a sweet girl.
Okay.
I've never had no trouble out of her. I mean, she's never showed. I've never seen that side of her if it's there.
How was the actual boxing match that you guys did with Miro itself? Was it difficult for you since you're used to having the shoot fights to work it?
No, it actually went pretty smooth. We'd went over. We'd worked together prior. To make sure everything went down smooth. It worked out great.
Did you work much with Bruce Pritchard backstage when you were putting that together?
Not a lot. No, me and Mark worked it all out.
How did the other wrestlers treat you at that time? Were they pretty respectful?
They still want to mess with you a little bit and whatnot. But overall, I got along really good with all of them.
I
Me
heard
and
that.
me and Vince really hit it off. I mean, I don't. Not a lot of guys would stand there and talk to him for 15, 20 minutes, and we just have a regular conversation. I thought it was normal.
Oh, so you weren't intimidated by Vince at all, and you got
He's a
along with.
great guy. He's business. I mean, he tells you what he's going to do, and that's what he did. I mean, if he screwed over people in the past, he might have, but he's never. Me. This is what we'll do. This is what we'll agree on. Yep, that's handshake, and that was about it.
Did he give you any advice about working the crowd or anything?
No, I mean he knew I already had all that down pat. Him and JR both, they both told me, look, you're not a boxer. You're more of a wrestler than a boxer. You're a showman. And that's why I've been so successful in boxing, because I went out there and fought and give the people what they wanted to see. They want to be entertained. They want to have fun when they're at a fight.
Is it
They don't sit there and watch boxing technique.
is it true that you and the Undertaker were pretty close?
Yeah, I've become friends with a lot of them.
The Undertaker is known for being a big boxing fan too, so I
Yeah,
guess he probably.
he's come to a lot of my fights.
Is there anyone back there that you think could have had potential to cross over to boxing, or do you think they were mostly showmen? And
No, there's a lot of them. They're all athletes, all really good athletes. Bart went about it the wrong way. He tried to box. It was
right.
3 1-minute rounds. If you put any boxer in there, even if Larry Holmes would agree to a 3 1-minute round fight with me, he would have got knocked out in the first round, because he wouldn't have the time to jab. When you jab in like that kind of format, you lose points. You don't win points. You can't. You have to be the aggressor.
I see. Were you at all nervous going into that, or did you pretty much know he didn't have a chance?
I'd been in front of that many people many times prior, so it's just really relaxing. I mean, I'm home. I'm home in the ring.
Had you seen any of the Brawl for All before you got in there?
Of course, I mean everybody's seen Brawl for All somewhere down the line in their childhood.
Now, are you surprised?
Yeah, I'm talking about WrestleMania, but yeah, I'd seen some of the Brawl for All.
Because they were allowing takedowns. I mean, if I were to have fought you in that, for instance, I may have tried a takedown, knowing that your expertise is boxing. Are you surprised that? Well, I guess you are surprised he tried to box you, as you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean it was. I mean the whole fight lasted 18 seconds. It was pretty
Yeah.
quick.
Were you concerned at all that you caused permanent damage to him because he was quite out of it there?
Yeah, that's part of life. I mean, he knew. Two grown men going there are going to do combat. Something bad's going to happen.
Did you tell him anything backstage or anything after the fight?
No, I mean we got along fine. I think that's what made him so nervous, that I was so comfortable about it.
Bob Holly, I don't know if you remember him, but apparently he wrote in his book that when you came backstage after knocking them out, you put your hands up and you said you got the job. Is that an exaggeration, or do you recall that?
What do you mean?
I guess this wrestler who was working for WWE at the time said that when you came back through the curtain, you put your hands up and you said you got the job, whatever that meant.
No, never happened.
Okay. Is
Never.
it is it true that you think that Vince actually wanted you to beat Bart Gunn as punishment because they wanted Steve Williams to win that tournament?
Oh, without a doubt, without a doubt.
I guess you got over better than anyone in that.
Care. He might not even want to. He might not even care.
Right.
You know, I mean, he wanted to see an entertaining fight, and that was. I mean, everybody loves Brawl for All. Everybody loved when I knocked him out at WrestleMania.
Yeah, people still talk about it.
I'm sorry, do what?
People still talk about it all these years later.
Well, The Rock put it in his, wrote about it in his book. I mean, The Rock, we talked a lot during, the fights and after the fights, and
Was there any contract offer for you since you made such quick work of Bart Gunn? You were kind of over with the crowd.
that's where a lot of people thought I wanted to go into wrestling, but the money wasn't there for me. I was
Oh,
making so much more money than they were, fighting. I was fighting 2 to 3 times a month, and I didn't have to go on the road 300 something days out of the year like they did.
did you get a pay per view bonus for that fight, or was it a flat fee?
No, I was a flat fee.
Okay, and I understand there was almost an MMA fight between you and Bart in Japan in later years, but it fell through.
I never heard about it.
Okay.
There was talk of promoters saying, "Oh, that'd be a great something put together." I said, "Yeah, put it together. I'll be game." But it never got even close to happening.
Did you watch the Brawl for All documentary that you were in?
Yeah, I seen it. It turned
What
out
did
pretty
you
good.
think? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was a pretty good documentary.
I noticed that Bart Gunn looks totally different now. He's not even recognizable.
Pretty much, yeah. I thought the same thing. People get old; they change. It's been a long time.
Do you think he could have had more of a fighting career if he had learned from that mistake and kept going and kept training?
Well, he actually had some MMA fights and done very well. He did good.
I guess that was just the end of his wrestling career, unfortunately, in the U.S. because everyone remembered that, unfortunately for him.
Yeah, I think it was over before that. After the first Brawl for All, where he did what he did, and they didn't want him to win.
There was a fan that wanted me to ask you back when MySpace was a big thing. I guess you had an argument with the Ultimate Warrior on MySpace. Do you have any recollection of that?
Never happened. Me and Ultimate Warrior were good friends
Oh, really? How did you know him?
from the wrestling.
Okay, cool. So
Yeah,
his
it
reputation isn't
never happened.
okay. What did you think of the Ultimate Warrior?
Good guy.
Now, another wrestler that you fought was Mark Jingtrack, or sorry, not Mark Jingtrack, Sean O'Hare, at I think a Las Vegas show that was put on in association with Pride, I believe. He was a
Hold on.
replacement.
I'm trying to hang this up. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
When you fought Sean O'Hare, that was another WWF wrestler
Right.
that you made short work of. Any thoughts on that fight?
Yeah, he's actually a tough guy. I mean, he's a tough guy.
He
But
just got caught.
a lot of them. I mean, they have it, but they didn't have the experience I had.
Right. You were supposed to fight Mark Hunt on that show. What happened that
Mark had got in trouble the last time he was in the U.S. and they wouldn't let him back in the U.S.
okay.
He couldn't get through the customs.
How do you think you would have done against Brock Lesnar if that fight had happened?
With you mean Mark Hunt?
Or no, like let's say because Mark fought Brock Lesnar, I'm just asking hypothetically, if you had ever fought Brock Lesnar, how would you have done?
I'd love to fight Brock. I'd knock him out because he comes to fight, and I mean that's you get closer, and you're gonna get knocked out.
I see. Now, Mike Tyson is obviously training for a comeback. I think you may. I don't know if you're still fighting or not. I don't think you are, but
No,
what do you
I'm
think?
totally. I've got a real bad hip. Me and Tyson are good friends too, but he's coming. He's doing exhibition. He's not really doing a comeback.
Why did the fight with you and him never happen? Because there was so much talk of it for years.
Two a promoter's got to want to promote it, and his people didn't want it to happen. I don't know if it's because I had big power to punch, and Tyson comes to fight. He fights like me. He comes right to you. He's going to be right there. I fought. I'm trying to think of the guy's name that Tyson trained with his dad for a long time too, and how he moves. And I trained. I worked with the guy for a long time. So I know how Mike Tyson's moving. It's got great movement. So I mean, it'd been a quick fight. It'd been 1 or 2 round fights. You got to knock him out or he knocked me out.
How do you think his exhibition fight's going to go, whoever he ends up going up against? We've heard all these names being thrown around.
Tyson looks good. I mean, he looks really good.
Is he someone that you looked up
He's
to?
in really good shape.
Did you watch him, obviously?
Of course, he's a great fighter.
Because there is some rumors out there that you patterned yourself after him in some ways.
No, I come out. I was me. I was myself. I come out. I come out to fight. If Mike Tyson come out to fight, it's the same thing. But no, I didn't pattern myself after anybody. I was me.
And you were part of the Hulk Hogan Celebrity Championship Wrestling show that Dennis Rodman was in and Screech
Right.
from Saved by the Bell. How was that experience and who recruited you into that?
It was a lot of fun. I mean, the Rick Bassman actually had something to do with that. They got a hold of me and yeah, I said sure, it'll be fun. It was a lot of work. We put in some serious hours. We was up at like 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, sometimes till 1 or 2, 3 o'clock at night, and then doing it all again the next day.
Wow. What was the hardest part about learning how to wrestle for you?
Well, I already knew how to wrestle. I mean, I'd already, with Mark Merrill, we worked a lot of stuff out. Once you learn how to do the bumps and things like that, it's all pretty natural after that. And I wrestled in high school also, so it's a different wrestling, but you still know a lot of the moves.
So you were doing that more just for the payday.
Well, it was a fun experience, exposure. I mean, you got out there to a lot of front of people, and it
How
was,
was
it was a month, a little bit over a month to shoot, so it was a lot of fun. There was a lot of money involved.
how was Hulk Hogan?
I knew Hogan before. He's a great guy.
I guess he came to some of your fights, or
He'd been to some of them, but I didn't meet him there. I met him in a couple of airports, and just run into him. When you're in the circle of being at a big event, you run into everybody.
right?
There's not a lot of
Brutus,
people that I haven't run into that I've ever wanted to meet. I've met most everybody that I've always wanted to somewhere. Like Bruce Willis, I met him at the Olympics. I mean, and a lot of them will stop me, and I don't even recognize a lot of the celebrities you don't recognize till you're up close.
now, I think Brutus Beefcake and Brian Knobs were two of the trainers. How were they to deal with?
Great, me and Beef are good friends. We still talk today. We're real good friends.
Is there anyone that you didn't get along with on the show of the other celebrities?
Not really. There's a couple of them that were kind of standoffish, and you never really understood what they mean by it's real competitive. Everybody's everybody knows how it's going to happen. It's how can that be competitive? But it's competitive to the point of how entertaining the person is. That's the competitive part. Whoever gets the bigger screams and the bigger hollers and the bigger heel. That's the competitive part of it.
Do you think, obviously, I think you'd probably make the best baby face, but if you had the choice, would you rather be a face or a heel?
But I
And
mean,
for,
I'd be a good baby face.
and for the WWE Hall of Fame, they've put a lot of celebrities in there. You've done a lot of work in wrestling over the years. Do you think they'll ever put you in?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would hope so one day. It'd be an honor to me. I mean, I think it'd be cool. Being in a WrestleMania, that's a big deal. And
Yeah.
it was a pivotal moment in WrestleMania. It wasn't
Oh,
just in WrestleMania. It was a rememberable WrestleMania to a lot of people.
and another wrestler that you fought was Tom Howard. I saw this fight. I think it was King of the Cage. Do you have any recollection of that fight?
Yeah, yeah, I know Tom well. I mean, he was actually one of the trainers for the Hogan thing.
Oh, really?
He's a great wrestler.
And well, you didn't have too much trouble in that fight, from what I saw.
No, I mean Tom was he's a great guy, but a B level fighter.
Have you ever seen Bobby Lashley in any of his MMA fights?
No,
Okay,
I knew
because
he
I'm
fight. I haven't seen him.
okay. Him against you would have been one that probably would have drawn some money, but for whatever reason, it never happened.
It's up to the promoter. Can't
Did you have any favorite city to fight in over the years?
you know? I like Japan. Love fighting Japan. The crowd there, you get 60, 70,000 people. They treat you really good, and and then Vegas, of course,
How is the food over in Japan?
it's different. Small portions. A big man will starve.
Are you a big eater?
No, but I mean, two pieces of shrimp and a chunk of rice ain't gonna cut it.
Yeah. Now there was some
I
promotional
mean,
picture.
honestly, what me or you would eat is a steak dinner, a 10-ounce steak dinner. Over here, a 10, 16-ounce steak dinner. That's a regular steak dinner.
Yeah.
For there, that's a family of four.
Wow. Yeah, that's nothing. Now for the Tank Abbott's fight that never happened, there was promotional pictures. Probably would have been a huge fight. What was the reason it never came through?
I think the money with the promoters. The promoters could never come up with the money. Uh, I was excited about it. Tank was excited about it. Me and Tank are still good friends. I seen him about 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago now. But right before the whole virus thing started. So it's been a while back, I guess.
I've heard you say that there's a lot of shady wrestling promoters. Would you say wrestling promoters are shadier than fight promoters overall?
Oh, without a doubt.
Why do you think that is?
But luckily, I've run into the good ones. I run into the successful, the higher end ones where I didn't have to deal with a lot of the shady, the local promoters, the
Yeah, because you did do some indie shows here and there, and I know you wrestled for the Juggalos too. How was that experience?
great guys. I mean, I actually met them at. I took my kids to one of the concerts. My sons were fans, so I took them and they called me back to their bus and we got to know each other. So I knew them, way before the whole wrestling thing even happened.
Okay. And you've had Michael Buffer ring announce a bunch of your fights. What are your thoughts of him as a ring announcer? That's pretty
Mike,
cool.
Michael and Bruce. I mean, I know both of them really well. Yeah, great folks.
Is there any offer that was ever made to you from UFC? Speaking of Bruce,
Well, no, because UFC, 265. I've never seen 265. Maybe back in
that's
the
true.
fifth grade. You
That's
know,
very true.
my lowest weight ever fighting as a boxer was 299, but they announced it as 300.
Do you think they should have a super heavyweight division in the UFC?
Well, they do, and it's the 265 limit. I mean, it's their, but it is what it is. They'll change it eventually. I mean, look, Pride has no weight limit.
Right. There's a lot of talk these days about fighters in the UFC complaining their pay isn't high compared to boxers, and McGregor obviously got his biggest payday going to boxing. Why do you think boxing payoffs are so much better than MMA?
Well, there's so many MMA fighters out there. Yeah, there's a lot of boxers, but boxers go. I mean, there's thousands of guys that want to fight MMA, and there's so many indie MMA shows that promote and so on and so on that they don't have no true celebrity type guys. I mean,
True.
the few that's out there, they make good money, but the other ones they don't get paid right. They don't. I mean, it is what it is. I can't. McGregor makes killer money when he fights. He can't say he don't.
Who do you think's going to win the upcoming Miocic versus Daniel Cormier heavyweight fight in UFC?
I don't have a clue. I
You
don't. I
don't?
don't keep up as much that much. I really don't.
Okay. Now, for we know there's a lot of crazy characters in wrestling. Is it the same in boxing and MMA where there's some outlandish people behind the scenes?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Chavez, not Chavez. I'm thinking. Macho Man. You know, Camacho.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was out there. Yeah,
In
there was
what
some.
in what way?
He'd get in the elevator naked and go up and down the. You know, he was out there.
Wow. Have you been following this the Mountain from the Game of Thrones or Game of Thorns?
No,
I forget he's going to be boxing, right? Have you heard
I
about it?
I haven't heard about it.
Okay. And have you ever seen the? I guess you haven't seen Francis Ngannou from the UFC.
Nope.
What about Tyson Fury? You must have seen him in action.
Yeah, Fury.
What do you think about his skills as a boxer?
I really don't. I'll be honest. I don't see it. I mean, back when I was fighting, there was a lot of good fighters. There's
Yeah.
not. There's not a lot of great heavyweights out there right now.
He does definitely have the size, which would make his reach hard to deal with.
You know, he don't have the punch. I mean, if you can't knock out a 190 pounder, you're in trouble. You know, easily. If you can't knock him out, Wilder, there's nothing to Wilder. He's a little punk.
Who was the hardest hitter you ever faced? Speaking of that,
It's really not like that. I've never really been able to feel a punch. I mean, like Holmes hit me this best shot. I smiled and laughed at him, and Holmes can punch. But I mean, it's like you take a baseball bat and you hit it on the ground, and you feel the vibration, but it's not a pain or nothing like that. I never felt the, you know.
you have a very thick neck. Did you do specific neck training?
I don't have a neck.
Yeah, because I've heard that the thicker the neck, the harder it is to knock someone out.
Right.
Is there any like special exercises you did or anything, or is that just
I
natural?
mean, you strengthen. You got to strengthen your neck as much as possible. Then you learn to go with the punch. You know, if you try to flex your muscle every time a punch comes in, it's not good. You got to roll with the punch.
And you had a huge fight against the world's strongest man, Marius. I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. I think Pujazdanoski or something. It, he's a huge star over there. How was that fight for you?
It was different. It was different.
What do you think about his skills for a guy that comes from the strongman?
Very limited.
Interesting. He's definitely popular over in Poland or wherever it is. The crap.
Yes, well, he is, but he's not. I mean, is a strong man. They love him, but as a tough is a MMA fighter, they don't respect him.
What would be some of the proudest moments of your fighting career?
You know, I've had a lot of them. I mean, there's a lot of really cool fights that I've done and things I've accomplished, and I mean, I'm the only fighter in the history that there was a 4 round fight that was a main event. On TV. I'm the only 4 round fighter ever that's had odds put up against him in Vegas.
That is pretty impressive. You had a fight in New Brunswick, Canada, where you won a title. Any memories of fighting up here in Canada?
I love fighting up there. I remember, yeah, it was the MMA title.
Yeah.
I love fighting in Canada. Great folks there.
You also fought in South Korea. How was that experience?
I actually fought in Korea twice. Korea, Japan, Argentina. I fought all over the world. I loved it there. I mean, I love Japan the best though. The people are just really welcoming, and
I've seen some clips online of you getting tased and you doing paintball and so forth for your police show that you were involved with. Who came up with that concept?
well,
And
I was working with the police department when they needed backup. My friend, he was over the drug unit. Whenever they needed extra body, I was a reserve officer, and Discovery was wanting to do something with me, and I said, what about filming us do this? And they liked the concept, and then it went from there.
how was that experience? I guess it paid well and you got some publicity out of it.
Well, I mean, it really wasn't about the money with that. It's trying to get rid of drugs in my county.
Is it a problem in your county?
Oh, it's a huge county. It's a problem everywhere. People just don't open their eyes and see it. Drugs are everywhere.
What are some of the drugs in particular that are prevalent where you are?
Meth, crack, heroin. Not
Oh,
as much crack, but meth and heroin are the two big ones.
so yeah, so I guess you want to clean it up as much as possible.
My brother actually he had a heroin problem and overdose from it, died.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So yeah, it's pretty bad everywhere. And then now what it is, they're putting fentanyl in it, which is that's what's killing people.
What is fentanyl? I don't even know.
It's a tranquilizer for elephants.
Okay, yeah, that's not good.
I mean, it's like one small dose can kill a room full of people.
Wow.
Just it'll absorb through your skin. Even that's how powerful it is.
Did you ever have any issues apprehending anyone that was high on some of this stuff when
And
you were doing that?
we come across a few that we had issues with.
Yeah, I could imagine someone on meth or crack might be hard to hold down.
Well, they don't feel the pain. They don't feel nothing. They're not in their right mind.
So, do you still do some work with the police force over there?
My hips. I have a really really bad hip. I'm gonna have to have surgery eventually on
Okay.
my hip.
I guess there's no insurance plan for MMA fighters that are retired, I guess.
Once you're done, you're done. It's like a self contracted job.
Do you have any memories of your fight against Cabbage?
A lot of memories of Cabbage. Tough dude. I ended up fighting Cabbage 3 or 4 times.
At one point, I think you broke Corelia's arm or something too in an MMA fight.
Yeah, he
Is that
elbowed me, knocked my teeth out. So I had to do something.
oh, you lost some teeth in that one?
Yeah, I had to spit them out, clean them out of my mouthpiece. Hey, at least they give me a break. Let me do that. I told Cabbage, hold on a minute, let me clean them out. He did. So then we went on back to fighting.
Did the company cover your teeth replacement
No,
at
I
least?
took care of that. They paid me good enough.
Oh, that's good. Any thoughts on your MMA fights with Genki Sudo and Minoa in Japan?
They're both very talented. I mean, when it's that high level of guy going against somebody that's not experienced in that type of sport, yeah. When I fought, I think it was Ginky. I had to wear like 22-ounce gloves. People nobody knew that at the time, but the glove issue never really come around. I mean, if I'd hit him with them, it would have been over.
Were his also 22 ounce, or was that a special?
Ounce, 3 ounce, they were small, regular size.
Why do you think that the mainstream boxing community continually kind of disrespects you and don't give you the credit that you deserve?
I didn't get it in boxing, but I did in MMA. In boxing, if you don't look like the typical fit bodybuilder type guy, you're not a boxer.
Right.
And there's only a few. I didn't get it from all of them. Just there was a few select that I didn't care for. That would say things, but other than that, everybody else I got along great with.
What boxing title that you won over the years has meant the most to you?
Probably the IBA, the International Boxing Association. It's a lot of big name fight. De La Hoya held one. It's a major title.
Did you have any serious sparring fights in the gym that kind of went a little too far? We've heard
No,
that.
had once there was a fighter out of our gym, really tough. He fought in Tough Man. He was called Alaskan Assassin. And I had a really bad headache one day, and they kept wanting me to spar because they had a fight coming up, and I didn't want to spar. But they kept on. I said, look, if you go light because I got a headache, I'll let you get some rounds in. And he kept trying to just swing, go for the, just throw a big haymaker. So I knocked him out.
What are your thoughts on sparring with all we know about concussions now? Do you think people should be sparring heavy numerous times a week, or how should
Sparring is to learn. When you get two guys in there sparring and working together, a concussion's not nothing you got to worry about. You're in there. You're in there working. You're not in there trying to kill the guy. It's not like a lot of the old day the gym fights they used to call them. That's ridiculous. They should never be a gym fight.
And for your fights against Bill Eaton, those were some pretty hard hitting fights. Any memories of those?
Well, yeah, the one fight I fought Bill, I attached my bicep, and I still completed the fight. The first fight,
Yeah.
I had my bicep had come off my arm,
Jesus Christ.
but I was fighting with one arm.
Was
The
that
second fight, so
was it the first fight where he got the lucky shot in and managed to knock you down on the first fight?
I slipped, and it was more of a stumble on my part. It was never a knockdown. I mean, it is what it is. You can't argue with them.
And you were in a movie with Carrot Top. How was that experience?
Yeah, me and Scott, Carrot Top, we get along really good.
And I
We've
get,
become real good friends over the years.
did you like your acting experiences?
It was different. Yeah, I had a good time doing it.
And you were also in NBC's Parenthood show. How did that come about?
Which one?
I'm not. I
I've
was
done
about.
I've done 10 different shows, so I mean, a lot of them they all kind of blend together.
Oh, okay. I didn't actually see that one. That was a fan question.
I've been
How's you?
probably 10 or 12 different shows. A lot of them have different names in different places. So a lot of times I don't know what show a lot of people are talking about.
How's your son's fight career coming along?
Well, they're both they both retired. They both have different jobs. One's running the restaurant. The other's a jailer. So I mean, yeah, they're out of the fight game, thankfully.
It's got to be hard when you have a father that's as accomplished as you are to try and follow in those footsteps. Probably for them.
It helps a lot for them also because they get better paydays right off the get go.
True. I'm just gonna shut this.
Yeah.
What type of barbecue do you like the best? You're obviously known for your restaurant.
Pork, pork.
Pork.
Yeah.
Do you do a lot of the cooking yourself too?
No, not. I did when we first started, but not no more. I'm retired. I'm totally retired from the restaurant. I'm retired from pretty much everything. I make my ink pens and my razors and things like that.
Did you have many people on the streets try and challenge you over the years because you're so recognizable from your fights?
Not really. One early in my career, but never. I never really come into that problem.
Do you remember a tough man competitor called Hard Body Harrison?
Yeah, I remember Hard Body.
He was also a wrestler.
Yeah.
Did you ever get in there with him?
You what?
Did you ever fight him?
No, never have.
I think he ended up running into some legal problems or something.
It happens.
You managed to keep your nose clean, though. You fought on the good side of the law.
Yeah, I tried.
Now, you also fought a guy named Gordon Riddle at some point in the 90s. Do you have any memories of that?
None.
Okay.
I have guys that fought as a pro. I mean, I just don't remember them. I've had them come up and, hey, we fought so and so. I'm like, I don't remember you. I mean, you got to remember, I had over 300 professional fights. 300 fights, and that's not counting tough man. That's 300 paid fights.
If you had to rank your top three toughest fights, what would those three fights be?
Well, Holmes is one of them. Monaco's another, real tough dude. There's been a couple other tough fights that.
Now, Boss Rutan, he's a pretty successful fighter in Japan too. Did you have much contact with him over the years?
Yeah, I know Boss really well. We're good friends. Tough guy. I mean, by looking at Boss, you'd never think he was tough, but he's a great guy. I mean, really funny guy.
A fan wanted me to ask you your thoughts on Boss Rutan's pre-fight vitals.
What do you mean?
I'm guessing that was a. You
I've been
never
to
talked about that.
fight before. I was the healthiest one there. You can't really tell by somebody's vitals before they fight because your whole body's out of whack. It's not, it's the emotions change your vitals.
That's true. What are some of the keys you use to keep your emotions in check going into fights?
I'm relaxed when I go in. I'm not worried about nothing. I don't care. I'm going out to have a good time.
Is it true you boxed Dan Severn at one point?
Yeah, me and Severn actually did a boxing match at one of the casinos.
He's not known as a striker. How did they convince him for that?
I really don't know.
Now, for pro wrestling today, have you watched any of pro wrestling these days?
I haven't seen it in years. I just lost interest. A lot of the names are not there anymore. It's just not a. It's not even entertaining anymore to me.
Oh
Not to
yeah,
me.
I agree. It's not entertaining to a lot of people. Um,
Not compared to back when I was doing it. When I was around the guys. Back then, they were all every one of them was superstars.
yeah,
You
and
know,
you were
like
there at its peak. It was the Attitude Era, and the crowds were sold out.
the only one that we missed was Hogan being there.
Yeah.
Because Hogan, well, he was in and out, but yeah, he was on his out. But other than that, The Rock, Stone Cold, all of them. I mean,
How is The Rock personally? You mentioned you know him personally.
me and him got along great.
Any favorite movie of his that you've seen?
He's had so many good ones.
Yeah. And as far as fight tips for any fighters watching this, what are some of the fight tips you would give in general for boxing, for instance?
Even boxing or MMA, go out and enjoy it. Have fun when you're doing it. You'll stay more relaxed.
And you've traveled all over the world. Is there anywhere that you still want to travel where you haven't been yet?
Not really. I've been to pretty much everywhere I've always wanted to be.
Is there anything fans might be surprised to learn about you that you don't talk about much or hasn't been on TV or anything?
Pretty much everybody knows everything about me. I got 8 great grandkids. I mean, they're I got 8 grandkids. They're all great. I mean, I'm enjoying being retired. Doing my hobby. I make the ink pens and razors when I got time to fiddle in my wood shop. Other than that, I'm living life and loving it.
Obviously, you're on Facebook. If people want to look you up there, do you have any other social media where people can search you
I'm
up?
on Instagram also.
Okay.
Instagram I just got a while back, so a lot of people don't know I'm even on there.
And I guess you run your Instagram yourself.
I do it myself, and I do my Facebook myself. That's why I don't have a fan page on Facebook because it's unlimited. Then you can have as many people as you want. And most people when they go to a fan page, it's not even the person. My Facebook is me, so if you shoot me a text or something, I'm there. I mean, I answer.
What's the craziest experience you've ever had in your life, whether it's boxing or police work or wrestling?
Yeah, I really don't have a lot of crazy things that happen. I mean, just being in a WrestleMania is a pretty crazy thing to me. I mean, it just don't happen to everybody.
And a lot of people want to know. I mean, you're a naturally big guy. Is that just a natural thing where you've always been big, and
I mean, yeah, I've always been big.
because clearly you're training and you're winning fights, you're clearly a top athlete. You clearly watch what you eat going into these fights. It's just a natural thing that it's the way God made you, I guess.
Yeah, I had no choice on the matter.
Obviously, it worked out to your advantage, being
Oh,
one of the all-time legends in boxing.
thank you.
How would you like to be remembered when everything's said and done?
Yeah, I tell you one thing, we all just need to get along. I know that. I mean, if I'm not even remembered, I mean, everybody needs to start loving each other and at least say hi to each other and don't care what if you're wearing a mask or not wearing a mask or just live life and enjoy life.
What are
And,
your thoughts on all this craziness going on right now with the riots and the masks and all this?
it's ridiculous. They've proved the masks don't help. It don't keep you from if you have a doctor certified mask. Yeah, nobody's got them. They're making their own. It's not helping nothing. I don't know why they're making everybody wear them, because it don't keep you from getting it. Don't keep you from getting it. I mean, distancing is going to work. That's going to help, I guess. But I just seen a couple the other day. I had my actual niece just said on Facebook that they didn't practice distancing. She's pregnant. Social distancing. She's pregnant now. So, I mean, people's gonna have to live their lives. I mean, the virus are gonna have to find a cure for it.
And as far as the riots that have been happening all over the US, has Alabama been pretty safe so far?
It's happening everywhere. It's ridiculous. People need to grow up. I tell you what they need to do. Like in Japan and China, they shoot them with ink dye, like
Okay.
money packs,
So you
so
know who it is.
they can arrest them later. Yeah, you see a little blue Asian running around, they're getting arrested later.
Are people tearing down statues in Alabama too?
It's ridiculous. Statue, if it's been over there 100 years, it has nothing to do with race. Um, it may not be what you believe in, but there's no sense in tearing it down. It ain't going to change anything.
And I saw you on Rick Bassman's special a few weeks ago, where everyone was getting together on his Talking Tough podcast and trying to send out a good message to the youth. Is that something that you do regularly? Try and send out positive messages?
If I feel it's going to do good to help a little bit, I do things like that. Yeah,
Do you speak in schools and things like that as well?
I have before. Before the virus, but yeah, I do things like that also. Yeah, I do public speakings and things like that.
Is there any MMA fighters you're particularly close with that you stay in contact with?
You know, a lot of them I know, but I mean, it wouldn't even be like I know him as MMA guy. I know him as a so and so or so and so. I don't even think of it that way anymore.
When you're working with celebrities, have most of them been pretty down to earth, or are they
Most
like,
are as excited about meeting me as I am about meeting them. Yeah, I mean, I haven't met nobody I haven't liked yet. Well,
is
there's
there,
a couple, I'm not naming the names. That they're female, and they're real snotty, and other people around me said it's just how they are.
I see. Is there any celebrity you were surprised knew who you were?
Do what?
If is there any celebrity that you were surprised that they knew who you were when you met them?
Michael Jordan, one of them. Yeah, when I
Oh
went,
wow.
he goes, "Hey, how you doing, Butterbean?" That's kind of that was a that'll make your head get swelled up a little bit.
If the right guy came along that wanted you to train him and he had a good record and he looked like he had potential and you think you could do something special with him, would you consider it?
I'm retired. I'm done with the fight game.
Okay.
I just don't have the, I don't want to be part of it. It's got too corrupt, and it's just nothing that I'm interested in right now.
All right. Well, I really appreciate that you took the time to speak with us today. I'm a big fan. I'm still an amateur boxer. I'm a little old to be going pro, but I've been watching your fights ever since I started training in boxing, and I got a lot of respect.
If you go in there, relax, and have a good time, you're more relaxed.
That's your best advice.
I mean, if you watch, I'm smiling during some of the phones. I'm having a good time. I'm having fun.
Yeah,
It's a fun sport. Like I
true.
said, a lot of guys want to dislike the guy they're fighting because of the fight. I never looked at it that way. I wanted to go out there and enjoy myself, fight. But it's like, you
You
know,
did have good intimidation tactics, though.
oh, of course you do. You got to have that's part of the game. That's part of the whole fight.
The mental game. Could you give
Yeah,
us some tricks on that?
just as big a part as it is when you go in the ring.
What are some tips that you give an amateur fighter on getting into the other guy's head?
Just basically show them no respect. Just show them, let them make them think that every year you want to be their buddy. You're friends with them, and you know it makes them think, oh, this guy ain't worried about me at all.
And then you go in there and you're a different person.
Yeah,
You fought some huge fighters too. I'm shocked that you weren't intimidated by some of these guys, but you made short work of some of these mammoth, juiced up monsters. Very impressive.
I appreciate that.
Any final message you want to give the fans here as we close off?
Hey, like I say, check, get a hold of me on Instagram and say hi to me, and send me a message. I'll talk back.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates. Support us on patreon.com for $1.99 a month to watch our full shoot interviews ad-free and help our channel grow. Follow us on Twitter at the Hannibal TV for instant updates.